And we are live. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Big Guilty Cigars podcast. Today, I'm actually joined with one of my friends, Mitch. Mitch is somebody I met through. You guys know my boy Rob from Should I Smoke This? From Should I Smoke This? So Rob has a Patreon that he does for his Patreon exclusive members that he does every Saturday. So that's how I met Mitch and met Mitch through there. And and also too, I think Mitch is a very fascinating person, also a very wise person. So, and also he's a Westchester boy, so I kind of favor Mitch a little bit. So, you know, uh, without further ado, Mitch, if you want just to let people know about just your time when you started smoking cigars, and what was it like when you first started getting into smoking cigars, stuff like that.
Okay. Well, thanks.
Yeah,
um,
no,
I actually started. I joined the service in 1970s. This was during Vietnam,
oh
and
wow.
I was in the Air Force. And I met my wife there. She worked for the Base Exchange, and she was a heavy cigarette smoker. And
Mm.
we had a little Volkswagen Bug that was airtight. And in the wintertime, the windows were rolled up and she's puffing away. And it was like a giant, you couldn't even see out the front windows. It's
Yeah,
a cloud.
I believe that.
And I'm sitting there gagging and choking. So I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. So at this point, I was like 19 years old. So I went to the grocery store. Actually, it was at the drugstore. And I picked up a pack of Garcia y Vega Candela,
Candela.
Candela cigars, right?
Oh, nice,
Yeah,
nice.
big green cigar. So
Mm.
when the windows were closed and she lit up that cigarette, I lit up the Garcia Vega.
Yeah,
It was not pleasant.
yeah, I
So
believe it.
yeah, so I mean, so basically, she ended up rolling down her window and sticking her head out there, trying to get air in the middle of winter in
That's
Denver,
awesome.
cold. So bottom line is, she quit smoking, and I kept smoking cigars.
Yes.
This
Yeah,
isn't bad. I kind of like this.
exactly. Yeah.
During the Vietnam conflict, and things were tense. So I tried cigarettes, and bleh, I couldn't stand it.
Hmm.
I tried Camels. I smoked Camels for a while,
Mm.
because it was the only thing that had some flavor. But then when I found cigars, I said, "Oh, this has flavor. This is something good."
Yeah.
So over the years, I mean, I started with the drugstore, over the counter, backwoods, like everybody else did. I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorites was the Dutch Masters Cameroon Elites. And
Wow. Oh,
you know,
so did Dutch Master actually make cigars like actual cigars back then,
oh yeah,
before they just turned into rolling blunts?
oh yeah, they were very big. That was the over the counter cigar to buy.
Really? Wow.
And at that point, I was trying to limit myself to like one a week, and then somebody said, "Why are you only smoking one a week?" And I said, "That's a damn good question." So
Yeah.
I started smoking more, and I smoked those for years. I mean, I really like those cigars. And then
Yeah.
one day, I was just kind of looking, and I got a catalog from Thompson Cigar, and
Okay.
so I'm not even sure how I got it, but I ordered some stuff from Thompson, and I didn't realize there was a whole plethora of cigar stores out there.
Yeah.
I went to the Tinderbox, the old Tinderbox stores, and of course prices back then were reasonable, you know, and I'm talking back then in the 1970s, right? Through the 1980s, I started to diversify what I smoked, and I would try Thompson. Then I found Famous Cigars later on.
Okay.
And of course, when the internet became big,
Big. Yeah.
that's when my cigar inventory exploded. But I never had a humidor or anything like that because to me it was a hobby, and I would smoke them weekly, but I'd buy what I need for the week.
Yeah.
That would be it. And I had some favorite cigars that I would buy, and ultimately, as of today, what 57 years later, I have of over 600 cigars that I've smoked.
Oh
Right?
wow.
And I keep a spreadsheet of every cigar that I've smoked since I started keeping records back, a long time ago. So 600 cigars, and I have my own rating system I put on them and whether I
Yeah,
should,
wow.
So
So so well, because one thing is you always have a rare cigar that everybody's like, what the hell is that?
yeah,
Where did you get that? Where'd you find that? And it's like, it's every week you're like, and and it's always something. And it's always it's something classic, you know. And
yeah,
like, because sometimes you'll say you're smoking something, and Sanj goes, "Oh, I know," because Sanj is a walking
right,
encyclopedia
right,
when it comes to cigars. He just goes, "Oh, that's this person right here. That's
right.
this right here."
Yeah,
And so do you just go on kid? Do you just go through catalog and say, "All right, well, I haven't tried this, I haven't tried that. Let me
yeah,
try this."
yeah.
Wow.
I look for obscure cigars.
Yeah.
uh, it's fun,
So
and sometimes
so do you have any go tos, Mitch?
I do. I like La Flor Dominicana, you know,
Okay.
La Bocata, the Flor Dominicana La
Yeah.
Bocatas. I like pretty much all La Flor Dominicana, Cabinet,
Okay.
Lajero, and Lajero. That's Lieutenant
Yeah.
Uhura from Star Trek. No, Lajero.
Yeah. Yeah.
And uh, basically, I've got quite a list of cigars that I like. But yeah, Rob was always saying that I roll them in my basement.
Yeah. 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 With a band, we're just like, where, like, like, where'd you find that? And it's
Right,
always, and every week is always like, you're like, well, I'm trying this out. And we're like, what? Like, I'm trying that out. And then, but then you'll go like, I found it at my local shop, and we're like, really?
yeah.
So like we're always like blown away.
There are a lot of cigars that I can't find anymore that I used to like Paul Stulak. I can remember the Paul Stulak cigars.
Mm.
Those are gone. Royal Jamaica is gone. I
Okay,
just
yeah.
Royal Jamaica. They were great.
Well, so like the other day, you brought that up, the Royal Jamaican cigars, and the fact that because they don't use Jamaican tobacco anymore, even though I believe I think I think I'm not sure if it's Alec Bradley, but another brand. They still make I think it's like a Royal Caribbean or something like that, but it's supposed to have, because it has the Jamaican logo on it, and it's supposed to have Jamaican tobacco in there, but
Uh,
you know, but they say that it doesn't. If it does, it has a very little bit of Jamaican tobacco in there.
right. There actually is a cigar company now called the Cayman Cigars.
Yeah.
And I've tried them now. They're okay. They're
Okay.
smoked. You know, like I say, cigars are like sex and pizza. When it's good, it's very good, and when it's bad,
When it's bad, yeah. Mitch, that is probably the best analogy I've ever heard when it comes to cigar smoking, because it's the truth. It is literally the truth.
yeah,
Like when it's good, oh, it's mind blowing.
right,
When you have a good cigar, oh, it's mind blowing. You don't want it to end. You keep going back to it. When it's bad, you're like, this cigar cannot end fast enough. And my thing about cigars is, I don't like to waste tobacco, so I will suffer through a
yeah,
bad cigar.
yeah. That's
You
what
know,
I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm the
yeah.
same way. In my entire life, I've only had to return one box of cigars, and it was some rip-off Cuban rounds, as they were called, I think.
Mm,
It was totally unsmokable. I mean, even I couldn't smoke it.
mm,
I'm a guy that likes spicy food. I mean, I grow
yeah,
hottest peppers I can find out of my garden, and I can smoke cigar, pretty much any cigar,
yeah.
without problems. This is the judge right here that always
Uh,
makes Rob sick.
mm,
But yeah, nothing bothers me. But that cigar was just hideous,
yeah.
just hideous. So let's see, that's about it for that. I was an engineer for 48 years, also.
So out of all the branches of military, what made you choose the Air Force?
Well, actually, I wanted to go into the Navy, but my
Okay.
father kind of talked me out of it. He goes, basically the motto of the Navy is if it moves, salute it. If it doesn't, paint it. So
Yeah.
he says,
Yeah.
I'm in the Air Force. It's 8 to 5.
Yeah.
It was awful. I hated every minute of it, quite frankly.
It's very funny because with my son, he's always like, "Oh, Dad, I want to join the." My son, he's always like, "I want to join the he wants to join the Army or the Marines," and I go, "No, you're joining Air Force or Navy if you're gonna go."
Right, right.
You
Yeah,
know, I give him those two options. I go, you join Air Force or Navy. Those are your two because at the end of the day, like, because it's cool because it's calm time now. It's not
yeah,
wartime.
yeah.
Like,
Not, no service is good during wartime, but during peace,
yeah,
Air Force and Navy are the best to join. You know,
yeah,
Air
you know,
Force is more,
because
Navy's more rigorous, in terms of
yeah.
discipline. Um,
Well, like he loves this guy, David Goggins, and he listens to David Goggins all the time. All of his motivational speeches, and he loves it. And he's like, "Oh, Dad, I want to go and join the." He's like, "I want to be a Navy SEAL,"
oh,
and I go, and do and don't quote me on this, but I believe that through the Marines you can join any branch of special forces that you want. So so if you're a Marine, you can take the test to be a Navy SEAL. And so he's like, Dad, if he's like, if I don't go to college, I want to go to the military. And I'm like, I'm like, if you go to the military, just please do me a favor, just do those two. I barely have hair as it is. I don't need to lose any more hair. With next thing you know, it's wartime and they're shipping you over. You know.
yeah. I changed my camera so feel like I'm looking at you now rather than looking that way.
Oh no, it's all right. It's all right, Mitch.
Reverse my.
Yeah. So but you said you were there during Nam. Did you have to go over or did you stay stateside?
Actually, I had orders to go to Da Nang, and
Okay.
I had my Mac airlift tickets, and I was all set to go. And then the last minute, they changed my orders to become a gunner on a gunship. Life
Mm,
expectancy was about 10 minutes from the time you took off and the time you were shot down. Uh,
wow.
it was, I got insurance, I did everything, but God works in strange ways. I was working on the F-4 Phantom jets at the time, and I was a radar missile guy. So
Mm,
I was changing a cable. It's called a cannon cable that was attached
yeah.
to the Klystron oscillator of the
Yeah.
radar, which produced over 10,000 volts. Well, anyway, my arm was resting on the case. I got about maybe 3-4 inches above the case, and it shorted out, and it arced
Mm,
up, went through my arm, burned out my ulnar nerve on this side, and came out my elbow because my arm was resting on the case.
wow.
I opened my eyes. I was like 2 feet away from where I was when I was standing there before. They rushed me to the hospital, and they said, "My God, you're a one lucky son of a gun," because if my
Mm-hmm.
elbow had not been resting on the case, it would have gone across my heart and killed me instantly. So they had a big inspection, and they said, "Okay, we're going to let you cross chain into any field you want." They redlined me for Vietnam, and I said, "Okay, I want to be in the computer. I want to go in the computer side." And because at that time it was all brand new. I mean, it's nothing like it is today. We had paper tape, we had the Hollerith cards, we had sorters and collators that you had to wire, and we had Univacs with rotating drums. You know,
Yeah.
when we had eventually got a Burroughs machine which had 35K of memory, 35,000 bits.
Mm,
Now, every bit of memory back then was a little piece of iron about that big that had 3 wires running through it. So you had 35,000 pieces of those metal bits, and it took up a lot of room. You know,
yeah.
take an entire, I mean, just an entire half a hanger just for memory. Those for integrated circuits and stuff. So, I kind of stayed in the field. It developed, it grew. I became part of the industry. I contributed to the industry. Um, became I did a lot of programming. I did a lot of database administration, developing databases, and I kind of stayed in the data field. But when I went to start taking classes to go to college and school, and I really wanted to be a doctor at the time, for a lot of reasons. But so I was pre med. I took a lot of pre med classes, and actually it was primarily pre med up until the point where I was about ready to take the MCAT test, medical college.
Okay.
And I had an uncle who was a doctor. He was a chief surgeon for the Jewish Memorial Hospital in New York.
Yeah.
And I don't, that's not longer there anymore. But we talked one night for many hours, and he said, "It's just not worth it." He goes, "Don't do it." Those days, there were no companies or corporations. You were it. You paid your own insurance. You were responsible 24 hours a day,
Yeah.
7 days a week. You were on call. And he goes, it wasn't worth it. You know.
Yeah.
So I kind of gave it a second thought. The computer field was still up and coming.
Yeah.
In the early days, computer science, well, there was none. There was just a math theory. But eventually, I started developing computer science classes and became a major. So I had already been working in the field for 20 some years. And I kind of fast tracked to get my bachelor's in computer science. And then I went on to get my master's in artificial intelligence
Mm.
back in 95, I think it was. And AI back then was really nothing like it is today.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
It was in its infancy. So I ended up leaving Denver in '95 to come down here in Arizona to work
Okay.
to work for Motorola, and it was in aerospace engineering, where I was developing the satellite control and satellite vehicle databases for the Iridium constellation. If you're familiar with the Iridium phones, it's a phone you can talk anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter where you are. The only place it doesn't
Yeah.
work is the North Pole because
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
so there's 66 low Earth orbiting satellites still there, still in use. It's like it's third or fourth generation now.
Wow.
But so I did the initial design and also computed what's called the launch ephemeris for the launch facility. So they used the old MERV dispensers. So a MERV was used to dispense multiple nuclear warheads, like 6. So
Mm.
we bought them and converted them to dispense satellites 6 at a time.
Oh
Right?
wow.
But they had to come out Earth pointing, so I had to compute
Yeah.
the math, so that it came out Earth pointing and not delivering phone service to like Mars and Jupiter, where
Yeah.
they don't need it
Yeah.
there.
Yo,
Right?
that is so interesting, Mitch.
Yeah,
That is so crazy.
yeah. I loved that job.
Yeah.
You talk about standing on the shoulders of giants. I worked with people with NASA from the brightest minds that and I learned so much. It was just amazing. We had to learn orbital mechanics. We had to go through so much training, and best job I ever had. And then it was a technical success, Iridium, but a marketing failure. So
Okay.
that was the start of Motorola's decline. And then they started selling off all the divisions. My division got sold off to Nokia, and I ended
Okay.
up spending the last 5 years of my career doing the same job, the same thing at Nokia, for Nokia. But at, by 1995, I'm sorry, by 2019, my wife had been previously diagnosed with cancer about 5 years earlier, 4.5 years earlier, and I became her full time. I had to become
Yeah.
her full time caregiver.
Yeah.
So I had to retire. I retired at 64, which was earlier than I wanted to. But I retired to be a full time caregiver, and along with the help with my daughters, who thank God for them. They're just my youngest daughter is a hospice nurse, and she brought in the cavalry. And
Yeah.
my wife passed in July of 2019,
Oh,
and
wow.
that led me to I'm still here. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
me. you know.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
early on in my days, I studied Shotokan karate,
Yeah.
for 7 years. And this was not pay your money, get your belt kind of stuff. It's not like
Yeah.
studios you see in the black the taekwondo. You get your black belt and you pay your money.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And basically they're worthless. There's um, this was hardcore JKA, Japanese Karate Association um,
Mm.
studio. Our sensei was the highest ranked jiu-jitsu master in the United States. He was also a seventh degree black belt in Shotokan, and he taught both. We actually learned both. You know,
Yeah.
we didn't have our Shotokan lessons, then we go downstairs and do jiu-jitsu, in self-defense. But
So it's very interesting because during that time, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu wasn't big yet.
no, it wasn't Brazil. I mean, like it still is
Yeah.
today. Um,
Yeah.
and there were it was very effective. I mean, for
It,
certain.
it's very it's very effective because the throws that you learn in Jiu Jitsu are, it's second. It's I like growing up, like, so we had a couple guys who would do judo and they would do jujitsu,
Yeah,
and they would have the basis for all the throws.
right, right.
So, one guy, his move was just an arm drag.
Yeah,
That was his move. His move was to set you up, get underneath your hips, and next thing you know, he was flipping you over.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, it's called a soft style, right? And
Yeah,
post that Shotokan is called a hard style.
yeah.
So the soft style, you use your opponent's energy against them. Sorry, I'm putting you to sleep. Yeah.
No, 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 no. But you are fine. You are fine.
And the hard style is Shotokan motto is one punch, one kill.
Yeah,
There's no fancy, like Taekwondo spinning kicks.
yeah.
You know,
Thinking, yeah, yeah,
we would fight different dojos. Have kumite
yeah,
with them, and they're always
yeah.
Tang Sudo is a variant of Taekwondo. Tang Sudo is the Korean fighting equivalent.
Okay,
Taekwondo is not, right?
okay.
Tang Sudo is very similar to Shotokan. The katas are pretty much the same. So we used to fight them, but they still love to turn their back on you. And as soon as they did, you go in and you punch them right in the kidney. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we always beat the crap out of them.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like there is, see, and and that's the funny thing is, like, people see when people watch like boxing. I think that's probably the best way to describe it is like when you see a boxer get hit by a kidney punch, it just drop. Like they go, it's the worst pain that you ever feel because your whole body goes numb.
right. It does, and we learned
And,
all the pressure points. Where to hit. I mean, you could make somebody's arm go completely numb, or
yeah. So
basically take the feet out from under them and
yeah.
lickety
Uh,
split.
So have you? So back in the day, I used to watch it like of course, as a kid, I used to love kung fu movies.
Oh yeah.
So one of my favorites all the time was, besides the Five Deadly Venoms, was Shaolin Fist,
Mhm. Yeah, I
and
remember.
in Shaolin Fist, that was all pressure points.
Yeah.
Everything he did was hit pressure points.
My oldest daughter is a black belt in kung fu,
Okay.
or variants of that. So we had a lot of discussions, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And you always get in these discussions. Well, which is better? What's the best starting?
Yeah.
Aikido. I wanted to get into Aikido. I didn't get a chance because I had to come down here to Arizona.
Yeah.
Aikido is kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Uh, Steven Seagal is
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
Aikido expert, or black
Yeah.
belt. The what's his name from Bloodsport? Uh,
Oh, John Claude Van Damme.
yeah, Van Damme. He was a Shotokan guy.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we had Kumite, when we used to fight each other, you know, the sensei say, well, medium contact. Well, of course,
Yeah.
nobody did that.
Nobody.
Hard,
Exactly.
of course, trying to beat the other crap out
Yeah.
of me. So, I broke several bones. My back was broken. I had my toe
Wow.
broken. Um, so it was not an easy path for 7 years. On
Yeah.
the seventh year, I was getting ready to test. I mean, you must train for 5 years to even test for your black,
Yes.
right?
Wow.
And at the test, you have to do written tests. You have to write an essay. You have to do
Wow.
a demonstration in front of a panel of other masters from other disciplines.
Yeah.
So there are 5 people up there from different disciplines that are masters in the field. And then you have to do kumite, fight.
Wow.
Then if you get through all of that, you have to do a demonstration where they invite families and everybody,
Yeah.
you go and you do a demonstration. So if you get through all that, then you get your black belt. And out of the people that were qualified, I mean, were training to get their black belt during this time period, only 2 of us got our black belts. So
Wow.
out of probably it wasn't very, about 8 people. We were the only 2 to get our black belt at that time. The other 2 had to
Wow.
continue training. They weren't doing it right. And then I was 2 years later. I was ready for my second dan, my second degree black belt, and that's when I had to move down here for the job.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to test, and that was really the end of my karate. Um Today I can probably pick on old ladies and little children, but that's
That's all right. That's all right.
where
You
to
know what? It's like, one thing about, any kind of martial arts, it's discipline. Like, and the one thing is the discipline, but also too, if you notice, like, it's always evolving.
It is.
Martial arts are, they're always evolving. And the problem, I think the only problem now when it comes to traditional martial arts is just the fact of dealing with UFC, because everybody, they want to do a little bit of everything, and
Yeah,
it's like,
that's the problem. The people, well, at least when I was watching UFC, the people that usually won were jujitsu masters, right?
yes,
Right, because they can get them in a chokehold or get them,
exactly,
and it was over, right? If you leave your discipline, if you go in there with a discipline and you follow it, and you do, and don't panic and leave it and start, doing haymakers,
yeah,
get the, land the blow, then you'll be successful. My son-in-law did UFC for a while,
wow,
and he didn't do well.
yeah,
Let's put it that way. He gave
yeah,
that, and because he really didn't have a style, he was a street fighter, and
wow,
he thought that he can go in and just match up
yeah,
against.
just yeah,
But if you're true to your style, you'll be good. I used to watch Shotokan um, championships, and there were people that would stick to the style, and there were
yeah,
people that start panicking, right? And because they knew they were losing, and they all of a sudden everything goes down the drain. Nothing is the way it should be. They're not doing things right, and they get their asses kicked. You know.
yeah,
So, but if you're true to your style, you'll be. And when you're good at it, it doesn't matter what martial arts you choose. If you're good at it and you study it well, you're dangerous. I mean, you'll be good at it, right? You,
yeah,
it's not like you can take a kung fu master and put him up a Shotokan master or an Aikido master. Why? You know,
yeah, exactly,
you could take somebody like Bruce Lee. I mean, my God, that guy doesn't matter who he went up against, right? He was amazing. Uh,
yeah,
but he invented most of that stuff, right? He invented
yeah,
his own style, and he had the body for it, and he trained for it so religiously that he became the best of the best.
of the best, yes. So
And
it's funny because you say best of the best. Do you remember that movie back in the '90s, Best of the Best?
no, no,
So best was a movie about karate, and it was the U.S. versus, I think, South Korea, and and like James Earl Jones was the coach, and it was like 5-on-5, and it was like Olympic style kind of fighting. But that movie right there, it kind of gave you just like just like kind of an inside track to what these guys were doing, especially in kind of point style fighting.
Right. Right.
And like still to this day, that's one of my favorite movies of all time, best of the best.
I have to watch that. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, Mitch, you're gonna love it. Best. It has James Earl Jones and a couple other people in it,
That's it.
and you know, and at one scene, one guy like he pops his shoulder out, and he tells his boy just because he has a bad shoulder, he's always and that was like his one thing was he always had a bad shoulder, and and he was like listen, my shoulder's bad, just pop it, and the guy this he popped the shoulder out, they taped it up, and he kept fighting, but. I believe the style. I think it was either karate or taekwondo they were doing.
Hmm. Oh,
Because
see. Yeah.
yeah, because they had on like the big chest protectors and they didn't have on headgear, but
Oh, yeah. Well, we didn't use headgear either. We just had little pads on our fists,
yeah,
to soften the blow when you get the.
yeah. So yeah, so you said your daughter trained. Did she pick her own discipline or did you kind of like nudge her into kind of which one to choose?
Yeah, well, I wanted them all to study Shotokan, and my son
Okay,
with me for a while, but then he kind of defected over to the Chinese styles as well because they were
okay,
they. But if you notice, uh, you really have to be good at it, right? Because
yeah,
a lot of their punches they're fast, but they don't
yeah,
have a lot of power.
exactly, yeah,
You're hobbling somebody, but it's not doing much damage, right? Unless you're somebody like Bruce Lee who can knock somebody off the chair from 6 inches.
exactly, yeah,
But Shotokan is different in the sense that you're putting all your force into one punch,
punch, yeah,
right, or one kick, right? There's the kicks aren't that fancy. You have roundhouse, you have a
yeah,
thrust, you have a snap kicks, you have a lot of the basic kicks, but they're all meant for power, right?
yeah.
And for warm ups, you do 100 kicks on each leg, and you come home with muscle cramps so bad you can't even take. It's horrible. But
Wow.
um, it was the best time. Also, it was the best of times and the worst of times.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it.
We have
Like you know, I had my oldest son. He loves wrestling and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So
yeah,
those are his two things of choice because he's gonna do wrestling this year in high school, and and he loves Brazilian jiu-jitsu because he likes the fact that like either from top, either if you're in the top position or the bottom position, you can still do chokes and
right.
still be in control of stuff.
I remember when we had our demo. Our sensei gave a demo, and he had three people attack him from three different sides.
Uh,
And in a matter of 30 seconds, he had them tied up like a pretzel on the ground. He had
wow.
all three of them. And just, I mean, I keep watching that demo even to this day. This was back in '95 when this happened,
Yeah.
and it's just the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So when
Well,
you're good, you're good.
it's and here's the one thing it was, like a lot of Americans never seen, like they never seen Muay Thai.
Muay Thai's impressive. Yeah,
Yeah, so Muay Thai wasn't over here yet.
right.
So back in I would say 95, 96, they would send over Taekwondo fighters to fight Muay Thai guys.
They probably beat the crap out of him.
Oh, so the thing too, so the Taekwondo fighters would be so much bigger than the Muay Thai guys.
Right,
But after a while, what the thing was, nobody never seen leg kicks before,
right. Well,
and
they
they
were
would
knees. Yeah, they were
yes,
knee kickers. Yeah,
so they would literally just go and just chop these guys down,
yep,
and to the point where like, listen, I can't take it no more. I'm
yeah.
done. I can't take these leg kicks anymore
I'll tell you
because
that.
because
Yeah, go ahead.
because they would wait. They would go and take punches and then, just turn their hips, boom,
Right.
boom, and they would get off two or three leg kicks. And after a while, God, the guy's like, damn, these really hurt. and
We,
those
yeah,
and those evolved from low leg kicks to like the shin to
yeah,
now they consider it a high calf kick. So
mm,
now they kick towards the upper calf because they see that part goes numb.
yeah.
So basically you get a dead leg. If you hit the nerve, the leg just goes numb.
We had a guy in our class who was from the Israeli army, and he
Oh
was
wow, that's
what
listen,
they would learn and how they learned
yeah.
it. It was similar to
Yes.
Shotokan, but
But I mean, they mentioned Count McGraw is badass.
yeah,
Count McGraw is no joke.
yeah,
Well, you know what? Like I had a few coworkers who did it and they loved it. They swore that it was one of those techniques that because it was meant for you to fight more than one person at one time.
mm, right,
You know, and those guys were and she and what the one girl she was like I can like they teach you how to poke the eye out and just pretty much disable your opponent by any means necessary.
yeah, yeah,
So if that means groin strikes, this is how you get in position for that. Whatever you got to do.
exactly. Yeah, what we learned also self defense during this time, and
Yeah,
it was pretty gruesome. Because it wasn't just oh hey, I'm gonna punch you. It was
yeah,
exactly what you're talking about: out gouging, you know, groin kicks,
yeah.
scraping the shins down,
Wow.
breaking arms and elbows,
Yeah,
down. And um, luckily I never ever had to use it. But uh, it gives you a false sense of security. You got to be careful because you get to a point where you feel I'm invincible, right?
yeah,
And you're not.
yeah.
you know,
You aren't. But it's kind of like because every country has their national style of fighting.
right.
Every country has their, like in Indonesia they use those little knives that come up like they're very good at
Oh,
knife fighting.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Filipinos have that too.
Yes,
Yes.
and it's the craziest thing to see because they're like, all I need is a little bit of space, and I can
Yeah.
cut
Yeah, they'll slice and dice you before you
you.
know
Yeah,
it. So, um, yeah, I agree. But again, if you're good at it, you're going to win.
yeah,
So it doesn't matter what style it is.
yeah,
Yeah. But if you go bonkers and just do street fighting, yeah, you can get lucky.
yeah.
But the other styles have been around for hundreds of years.
Hundreds of years.
Yeah,
So
and even longer than that. I mean,
yeah,
Bodhidharma from India back, God, I don't know what century it was. It was early. Brought he had what it was called the five hands,
yeah,
and he went to the Shaolin temples and actually taught them, and that became the Shaolin style. And then he brought it to the Japanese and the Okinawans, and that became karate. Right?
wow,
So he was really the start of all things, Bodhidharma back
wow.
in India,
You
right?
know what's the funny? So you want to hear something funny? Sanj goes to that story all the goddamn time. He goes,
But
you know who invented karate? Uh, The Indians created.
well, he's right.
Yeah,
They did.
like that's his go. And we like, and at the shop we be like, something like, well, your foot. Like we be like, oh, whatever. That's BS. That's BS.
Well,
And
wasn't
like
Indian,
it's
there was one Indian,
yeah,
Bodhidharma.
yeah,
He traveled the world, and he told he taught I think it was Master Funakoshi from who was
wow,
Grandmaster from Shotokan, who really started
wow,
Shotokan as a style. So he had influence in every karate style that existed.
wow. So
So yeah.
so Mitch, so you never want to come back home to the East Coast?
Uh, I really have nothing to go back there for. I used to have relatives there. They're all dead now, and I did have to go back once to visit my daughter. She was married to a Marine at the time who was stationed there
Okay,
in New Jersey,
okay,
right?
okay.
So I did go back. to visit and get some closure on some items. My mother was buried there. I hadn't seen her since she passed away. Her
Yeah,
great, I'm 63,
yeah,
and also visit some places that I need closure on. And after that, it was like, why go back?
yeah,
Everything was different. Everything that we talked, like the Oakland pool that was on Rye Beach,
yeah.
and the boardwalks are gone, and Playland isn't what it used to be.
Well, wait, so okay, so like here's so for me, Playland has not changed in about 30 years. I've been going to Playland since I've been 4 years old, and Riot Playland has never changed.
Well,
The
I'll tell you videos from 1957.
Yeah. Wait, here's the funny thing. The Dragon Coaster is still,
Dragon Coaster.
oh my, listen, it
That's
sounds like it's gonna
crap.
anytime
Yeah.
anytime they use it, it's like it's gonna break.
Yep. Yep.
You know, it still sounds like it's gonna break every time. And you're
I,
like,
there's always these idiots that stand up as you come out of the tunnel and get decapitated. I think they
yeah,
fixed it then, but it killed a lot of people. That
yeah.
Dragon Coaster. So
So,
yeah,
but Mitch, but you went to high school in Rye, correct?
yeah. I went to Rye High School,
Rye High School, yeah.
which was
So
you know, uh, really
you know,
old
like,
building.
yeah. Well, because Rye, it maybe like it's still very small. It's one of those towns that even by the train station, everywhere else in Westchester, over by the train stations, they're starting to build up luxury apartments.
So the Rye train
So
station is still there.
it's Rochester. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they still have the bus that goes from uh from Rye train from the train station right over to Rye Playland.
Oh,
But they haven't built any high rises over there. So
yeah.
that's right next to the train station. Because they did it in Port Chester. they they're gonna do it. You just know it. New Rochelle is pretty much like a high rise city now.
Mm.
Like everything by everything down there is pretty much being built up. It's pretty much being built up to like now we have 6 Avalon buildings there, and it's like because they're trying to make it into a commuter city.
Yeah.
So they did the same thing. Did the same thing to Yonkers, Garrison, Peekskill.
Mhm.
You name it. They anything that has a train station, they're trying to build up down by especially down by the Hudson.
Yeah.
So they actually built maybe I would say 7 to 8 new train stations going up to from Grand Central to Poughkeepsie. There's probably eight new train stations there.
Wow. I haven't
So
been
yeah,
to Central since I was a kid. I mean, I used to hop on that train and go visit my relatives in Manhattan. And take
so
the train out there.
it's funny. I tell my kids when we go through Grand Central because we have to go there to visit my mom in Mount Vernon. I tell them I go back when I was a kid. They used to do light shows right over here, and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, they used to do light shows." They go, "Really?"
What
I'm
kind of?
like, "Yeah," because when you look up, they have all the zodiac signs,
Oh, yeah,
and they would go back and forth through the zodiacs,
cool.
and
Fine.
so like, but they stopped doing it.
Uh, yeah, I remember going to the Hayden Planetarium when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That
Well,
was my favorite place.
I
It
would
was
I would say this: Grand Central is probably the one place in the city where you would not find any homeless. Yeah, up by well, you'll see them in the trains in the subway system, but
yeah,
up by the Metro North, oh no, they kick them out ASAP. And it's the craziest thing. 'Cause I'm always like, that is so crazy that everywhere else in Penn Station and Port Authority, everywhere else that's a major hub as far as transportation to get around, they let the homeless stay there.
mm,
Everywhere except for Grand Central, they kicked them out ASAP.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, so that there's no pinhandling there's no pinhandling over there at Grand Central.
Are the trains still all graffitied up, or do they clean them up?
Nah, they cleaned them up. The They still have newer trains, but they have like a train museum now.
Yeah. Huh.
So they have like a train museum
Cool.
to where like all the old trains are at. Because back in the day, all the trains had names on the bottom of all the carts had names on the bottom of them.
Hmm.
For the trains going up to New Haven or going up to Poughkeepsie, they all had names on them.
Yeah.
And back then, we only had I think three train lines. It was the one to White Plains,
Yeah.
the one up to
Yeah.
Stanford and New Haven, and then they had the one to Poughkeepsie. That was it.
Yeah.
Now they have the LIRR that now goes into Grand Central now.
Huh.
So you can either take it to Grand Central or Penn Station now.
Do you feel safe riding the trains? Or?
The Metro North. Oh yeah, that is one thing you don't have to worry about. On the Metro North, you don't have to worry about anything happening on the Metro North and on NJ Transit, especially for me. I have nothing to worry about.
Hmm. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. So like, but of course, like the city's changed so much. But like your time in Denver, you spent how many years in Denver before you moved away?
20 years.
Wow.
So.
And I'm pretty sure if you went back to Denver, it's a whole different city.
Oh my God, yeah. Last time I was there, there was Denver, and then as you go south towards Colorado Springs, there was a town called Castle Rock.
Yeah,
That was just a place you stop to get gas, right?
yeah.
Now it's built up all the way from Castle Rock all the way to Denver, and the traffic is miserable.
And wow,
It's and going up the mountains, it's a traffic jam every day. What I hear now, you can't get to the mountains without being in the
wow.
traffic. And I used to do a lot of mineral collecting and
Yeah.
prospecting, and
Okay.
climbed all those mountains. I climbed Mount Antero and a lot of the other mountains just looking for minerals. And there was nobody,
Wow.
nobody would do that trek. Now they cleared
Yeah.
the roads and you can practically drive up there.
Yeah. Exactly.
You can drive to the top of Mount Evans, and you can, But it definitely has changed, and I would never move back to Denver again, only because number one, the traffic, um, politics. you know,
Yeah. Well,
I,
I got a question for you, Mitch. So besides Israel, what other places have you been to outside the U.S.?
Finland, Sweden. When I worked for Nokia, I had to go to Finland, and we go to Sweden to visit, and that's really about it. Canada, of course,
Yeah.
Mexico. But
Okay.
I had opportunities many times to go to India, and I just didn't want to go.
Okay.
So I always found excuses not to go to India.
Yeah.
Basically, I pretty much could have gone to any country, China, um, South America. Let me turn my phone off. Hang on a second. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, Mitch.
Yeah. Okay, it stopped anyway. So no, but the problem was that I still had to deal with all these countries. So
Yeah.
I was in meetings from 7 o'clock in the morning till like 2 a.m. the following day
Yeah.
because of the time zone change. China was
Yeah.
a bitch to work with because they were so far off time zones. Didn't even
Yeah.
you know. So and then towards the end trying to take care of my wife working 14 hours a day, and I was
Yeah.
ready for a nervous breakdown. It was like
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
you know. So that's when my daughters called in the hospice troops, and
Yeah.
the other one took leave of absence to come stay here and help. And
Yeah.
what I would have done without him. I was married 48 years,
Wow.
and
That's
a long time.
that's a long, Mitch. That's a long time, and that's amazing. Almost made to 50 years.
Yeah, we were planning on our 50th, but we never made it. You know,
Wow. I'm
so
sorry to hear that, Mitch.
yeah, it was a terrible time. I mean, she died in the house. I was holding her.
Yeah.
I saw her take her last breath. And it's
Wow.
funny, when we got married in 1971, we had a picture taken with our hands like this, with the wedding rings on,
Yeah.
right? Just the hands. When she died, I put my hand into hers and took the same picture.
That's amazing.
You know?
That's
So
awesome.
You look at the I look at the two in comparison. You see these young hands, ready for life, and
Yeah,
then you see our old hands, so like,
yeah,
but I had to get that picture, from
yeah,
so death to his part is
exactly.
you
So
become one person, you become one soul,
exactly,
right? You become so intertwined that when somebody like that passes, you lose half your soul.
half of yourself. Yes.
And I mourned for 2 years. I mean, I was a mess for
Yeah.
2 years, So I had put on a lot of weight when the time she was sick, and then when she was stopped eating, she couldn't eat anymore. She had tubes everywhere, or
Yeah.
cancer had destroyed her intestines, and I stopped eating, and I lost so much weight the doctors told me to stop because I was
Yeah.
puking. So I looked like an
Yeah.
Auschwitz. You know,
Wow.
I have a picture I'll show you sometime, but it was.
Yeah.
So I started eating again, and unfortunately put back what you see here.
Wow.
But
No, Mitch, it's perfectly fine, man.
yeah,
Let's know what it's part of your story.
yeah,
It's part of your story. So when you met her, was she also Jewish or did she convert?
no, she's Catholic, and
Okay.
that caused some problems initially because I wanted to raise our kids Jewish, and she wanted to be
Yes.
Catholic, and we fought about it all the time. And finally, I went to a rabbi, and I said, "Look, what do I do? She wants to raise him Catholic. I want to raise him Jewish." And I was expecting him to say, "Well, get a divorce, or go marry in the future."
Yeah.
What he said was the kid should be whatever the mother is. And I said, "Okay." So the kids were raised Catholic, and yeah, I was still Jewish. But what
Yeah.
happened was, I still went to synagogue at that time. But after they learned that I married a Catholic woman, they shunned me, right? So,
Really?
yeah, and it
Wow.
literally shunned me. So I left the synagogue and I never went back. I'm still Jewish. I still have my beliefs.
Yeah.
Although my beliefs in God have really changed more in the field of science. I don't
Yeah.
believe God is. I don't know. I should be talking about this here. But
No, but so I have because I kind of went through something very similar, which I spoke to you about, because like my oldest son is Jewish, and so he had his breast when he was first born.
right,
He had his breast and all that stuff. But you know, me and his mother flipped the coin.
really,
I I won the coin flip.
ah,
I won the coin flip.
yeah.
And little by little, it wasn't the mother, it was the grandmother.
Oh, yeah,
The grandmother got in his ear, and he had his and 3 years ago he had his bar mitzvah.
yeah,
And he sat there and he read the Torah and everything.
right.
And I'm there, and I was proud of him. And I was like, you know what, like, I'm a big person on tradition. And he had on his grandfather's he had on his grandfather's scarves. And
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, so he had, and he took his grandfather's name. And I was like, you know what, like, at the end of it, like, as if this the route you want to go, I'm gonna support you 100%. You just make sure that you stay disciplined, and you read, and you start to connect, and you start to go to temple. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna meet a lot of good people.
right,
Like, and don't get me wrong, you're gonna stand out like a sore thumb.
right.
But at the end of the day, they're gonna accept you, because at the end of the day, you know you went through your bar mitzvah. You understand the Torah. You're able to read it. So and you just gotta stick to it. The only issue is when he's with me. Like, when he's with me, he
Right.
kind of he breaks the rules a little bit. But
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
he
I don't keep kosher.
yeah. Oh, his his grandmother is so is oh you want strict culture.
When I
You
was
know,
young, I used to do that. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't want to do that anymore. Pork
yeah.
is
So she
what can I say? You know, I love seafood. I
yeah,
love pork. I love lobster.
exactly. So that's the funny thing is, the grandma so she'll call him by his name, but if he's not acting right, she'll go, and this could be like the impression. She goes, "Oh Yaakov, can you do this?" This is how she butters her. She goes,
Yeah,
"Oh Yaakov, can you do this for me? I could really use your help.
yeah.
You're such a good boy, Yaakov, and your grandfather will be so proud of you."
Uh,
And then any resistance he had just melts.
yeah, right.
Like, all right, you got it. You
I have
know,
well, I have two black son-in-laws, four
yeah,
black grandchildren. One of
yeah,
them converted to Judaism.
yeah,
Yeah. So my oldest grandchild is Jewish.
yeah, yeah.
So,
So did he pick it because like he's like granddad, I'm gonna take care of you, granddad.
yeah, he's very protective of me for some reason.
Yeah.
He's the only one that calls me every night, asks me how I'm doing. You know.
Well, he's like, listen, granddad, like just remember, you know, when you put your will in, just make sure that I just get a little bit more.
He wants my cigars. That's what he
Yeah.
wants.
Oh no. Oh man. Oh, he wants the stash.
He wants the stash, but I
Nice.
promised it to my son.
Yeah.
I got my son smoking cigars about a year ago, and he's
Nice.
really getting into it now. He's starting to buy
Yeah.
all brands. He's got a humidor now, and
Nice.
so
You know
he's
what the thing is?
yeah.
To me it's the ultimate de-stressor. Like during the time that I'm able to smoke my cigar, I'm able to eliminate any problems that I have in the world.
How many do you smoke a day?
Uh, so it depends on it. If I'm at Sanj's, if I'm at Sanj's, I can go anywhere from 2 to 6.
Yeah,
And if I'm at home, I'll have 2 if I'm at home. If I
right.
if I come home, because I'll come home after work, I'll go. The first thing I do is I come here right in the office. I come in the office and right away
Yeah,
I light up my cigar. I de-stress, and then I'll go and do whatever else I need to do out the day after I'm done with it. Then at 9 o'clock, I come back and I have my second cigar.
I can imagine being in Sanj's is like being a kid in a candy store. You know.
Oh, forget about it.
Yeah.
Like everybody always always hounds on me about how much I kind of praise and like Sanj just took me under his wing and kind of and he's always like innocent, you're a good person, and that's what I like about you. He goes, you're a good person, and I see that. And and also, and anything that Sanj ever needs, like I'll go over and beyond to make sure that
Yeah.
you know that he gets it, because that's my guy, and he's always willing to teach me about cigars, and he wants me to you know like get to wherever I want to get to on this cigar journey,
Yeah.
whether whether it's getting you know 10,000 subscribers on it, or if I have 2 subscribers, he's like, do what you love and just and spread and try to spread knowledge and just about cigars. And I'm also too, like I just seeing the success that he has with his cigar brand. It makes me even more happy, because that's my guy.
Yeah.
Like I'm so happy that he's doing good. It makes me feel like I'm doing good, because I'll buy 10, 15 of Sanchez cigars. I'll hand out maybe 10 of them,
Mhm. Yeah.
because I want everybody to try his cigar at least once.
Right. Right.
I want everybody to try his cigar at least once, and when I describe it, I want everybody to know, like, no, that's the guy right there who makes it tell him how you like it, and when if you like it, come back and let him know.
Right.
It's the same thing with Rob. Is I want Rob, not just as far as his YouTube stuff, but as far as him being able to kind of should I smoke this.com. I want that to be the number one cigar retail shop in the world
Yeah.
as far as for cigars.
Right.
You know, and and that's and and that and Rob is very you know Rob is kind of like the best way to put it, he's like an onion.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to break off the layers,
Right.
and then But once Rob loves you, you're in.
Yeah.
Once Rob loves you, he he'll do anything for you, and that's
Right.
the one thing I love. I love about Rob. But and I told Rob this the other day. I said after I met your dad and I spoke to your dad and just hearing about your journey, no matter what Rob does, he's going to be successful at it. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's cigars, music, selling cars, selling bootleg DVDs. Rob is gonna put 110%, and he's gonna be one of the best at it.
Yep.
And that's one thing that I like about Rob, and that's one thing that like I like to feed off because you know, like he always said, he goes, like this YouTube thing didn't happen overnight. I've been doing YouTube for over 10 years. And no matter how many times that YouTube would knock him down, he will always find a way to get back up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's always been resilient. And also too is and he's always and also in his followers are loyal because they see the person that he is.
Yeah. Yeah. I
You
like.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, Rob's my guy, man. Like if Rob called me and say, "Hey, listen, I need a favor," I'm like, all right, let me give me 5 minutes, let me go. All right, let's do what we gotta do.
He's
What we got.
amazing. I mean, you order something, and like 5 minutes later, it's like I get an email,
Uh,
got a label, really, it's ready to go.
uh,
It's packed. It's like he runs over and packs everything
yeah,
you order.
yeah. Well, but he takes pride in that.
Yeah.
He goes, listen, he goes, you know, I may not have the quantity of of these big sites like Cigar Page or
Famous cigars.
yeah, but you know what? My shipping will beat theirs every time.
Yep.
Like though, and it's those little things.
Right.
And also too, like people feel a connection to Rob. And I think that's the best thing. Is when people buy from him, they feel a connection, and they know that Rob appreciates them buying from him, and also and Rob and San's they've been tight, like they've been tight forever.
Yeah.
Like I would always hear about Rob, like Sanj would always bring him up, and I would go and
Who'd you meet first, Rob or Sanj?
Sanj.
Sanj. Okay.
So, but I would always actually my friend told me about Rob first. One of my friends said, "Oh, it's this guy from Should I Smoke This? He's over at he records from Sanjay's Smoke Shop." I go, "Really?" I go, "I never see him." But Rob was always there in the morning. So I would show up around 3 o'clock.
Hmm.
And you know, it's I think it was like a Saturday, and Rob came in one day, and I finally met him. And I go, you're fucking shot. He was like, "Yeah, that's me." And we spoke, and I was like, and the first and and probably the third time I met him, I was like, "Oh, yo, here," and I gave him a cigar. I'm like, "Yo, here." I'm like, "Yo, I just got these in. Smoke this." Anything that I get, and I ask Rob, and I always ask him like, "Do you want to review this?" I'm like, "Yo, I just got some stuff in." He's like, "Nah, I'm backed up." I'm like, "All right, well, then then don't fucking review it. Just smoke it. Come here and chill and we smoke and then we really started connecting on music.
Right.
We really started connecting on music, and Rob knows that like he like all right, he could chill, and we'll sit there and just talk music for hours, not even about cigars. We talk like me and Rob talk about just other shit.
Right.
you know, and it's one of those things where it was just when you click with people, you click with people.
Right.
So and he's always shown me love, and I always make sure I make sure that I show him as much love possible back as I could, man. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's the same thing with you guys, you know, like Rob, I think even if I wasn't a Patreon member and I asked Rob for the link, he'll be like, yeah, take the link because you can keep the conversation going while I do other shit. He's like, listen, just keep the conversation going, so this way I can go up and also and one great benefit is I bring the UFC fights on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I put the fights on, and you
Right.
know, so this way you guys can have a good time. But it's pretty funny. I was telling Rob that he needs to start like a group chat with just because it's the same guys every Saturday. It's to the point where we know each other. Like if we see each other in the street, like, oh my god, when I finally met BJ in person.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, hey, you know what? That's one reason for you to come to the East Coast now.
Yeah.
You know,
I thought about it. I've actually been talking to my son. He said he'd want to come with me if I went. And the
listen.
only
So
reason I would come would be to come to such a smoke shop. I mean, that's the
exactly. So the thing about this, you know, you can come to Sanja's. Then from there, you can head into the cities and see how crazy the city has gotten. The city is a mess right now, but you can head to the city and head back up the Rye and just drive through and be like, holy shit, these houses have changed.
yeah. Yeah.
Because now those are $1 million houses, and it's the same thing with like they say with Greenwich. It's like Greenwich, Pelham. They say it's old Jewish money there. So it's old Jewish money there in Greenwich,
Yeah.
because those house Greenwich, Coscob, those houses ain't cheap.
Yeah. The only thing that sticks in my mind about Greenwich is in the '60s, you know,
Yeah,
where Greenwich Village,
yeah.
with
Well, oh, the Greenwich Village. Oh my gosh. Well, it's changed a little bit. It's not as wild as it used to be back. Not as wild as it used to be. Kind of tamed down a little bit.
that's good to hear.
Yeah.
An art district or something, or is there
um,
art?
it's still a big art scene. But before it was just, that community was really just down there in the West Village, and now they pretty much taken over kind of Ninth Avenue.
Yeah.
So like Ninth Avenue, going straight up Ninth Avenue, it's a lot of bars, a lot of bars now, and so the West Side, Ninth Avenue. If you want to party, that's where the party's at.
Yeah. Is
All the drugs and
Chinatown
stuff like that.
still there in Terrytown?
What happened?
Is Chinatown still there? I think it was in Terrytown, wasn't it?
Oh no, no, Chinatown is right there in Chinatown on Canal Street.
On Canal Street. Okay.
Yeah, listen, Chinatown is still there. Still hasn't changed. Chinatown is still the same. It's but I would say this: it's the best cheap eats you can find in the city.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Soho is still. Well, the problem with Soho is that all those big companies that were there, they left.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of abandoned buildings, because they say that New York City is pretty much it's run by the Russian mob, or the storefronts. And it is, and they basically just use that to kind of clean the money up.
When I was a kid, it was run by the mafia.
You really,
Yeah. All those pretzel stands that you saw,
yeah,
those were all mafia owned.
yeah.
All had
So
a pretzel business.
so it's funny because from what I hear, like in the morning they have the breakfast carts. So I hear that the company that makes all of those pastries is the Greek mafia.
Hmm. Greek
They
mafia. Yeah.
they run that, and they run all the restaurants.
Yeah.
Well, like the diners.
Yeah. Also, all the coin shops that used to be around there, those were all mafia. They were front.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so there's not that many coin shops no more.
Yeah. I don't believe there
Yeah.
wouldn't be a reason for them anymore.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like they still have pawn shops, but the pawn shops are kind of in like the Bronx and in more of the like lower neighborhoods. But there's not a lot of pawn shops anymore. Uh, hmm. Like places that were like to buy gold and stuff like that. They're not around like that no more. We still have the Diamond District.
Oh yeah, the Hasidic area.
Hmm.
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 Yeah.
But
Pe-
it's very interesting because they have their own they have their own bus line.
I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
very secluded. People are born,
Uh,
live, and die in that same block that they have lived. That they live in. I mean, that's the home. That's their little area. You know.
so
And, you know.
all right, so Mitch, I have a crazy question for you. So growing up in New Rochelle, like when I played on the rugby team, they would talk about like the Jewish kids would talk about the other Jewish kids about how Jewish they were.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they goes no, it's levels to this.
There is. There is. There's
you know,
there's conservative and there's orthodox. Well, there's
yeah,
really a fourth. There's Hasidic,
yeah.
because
Well,
even the
well,
Orthodox can be separate from the Hasidic Jews.
wow.
Since you have their own
Oh,
rules.
hold on one second. I'm sorry, Mitch. My mother is calling me. Hold on
All right,
1 second.
no problem. That'll give me a chance to take a break real quick.
All right. Oh, let me move this over here. All right. Well, so while Mitch is going, just let you guys know, I'm trying to do a podcast every Tuesday between 8 and 9. Just to get people to come on, and so far it's like my fourth week in a row doing Tuesdays. So I hope you guys are enjoying this conversation between Mitch right now. And leave a comment. Hopefully, the guys that know Mitch, I hope you guys leave a comment. The guys that know Mitch, I hope you guys leave a comment and just enjoy this and also learn something about Mitch.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what? I have to get Wes on next. That's what I have to get. I gotta get Wes
Yeah. Oh God.
because oh my god, it'll be because it would be 24. It'll be 24/7 cop stories.
Yeah. I
You
love him.
know?
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
So speaking
Well,
of music, have you listened to my album?
no, the album. What kind of music do you play?
Well, I have so aside from everything I told you, I had a music career as well. Um, and it started in earnest really when I was in high school, before the draft came up for Vietnam. I had a band, had a group.
Okay.
In 1 year, we became pretty popular, and we were doing shows at the Hollywood. Now in my senior year, I actually went to Florida, and I graduated
Okay.
high school in Florida. So we were
Okay.
playing, the Hollywood Band Show. and we became the warm-up act for Tom Jones, who was playing at the Fontainebleau. I don't know if you guys remember Tom,
Wow.
you know, who was a really a jerk, but but it was fun. When the first time
So
anybody
so
really
so Tom Jones is the guy that came out with the song Hello Pussycat.
yes, you know, ladies would throw their underwear onto the stage, and it was just.
Wow.
But then the draft came, and we all had to join the service or get drafted. So two of us went into
Yeah.
the Air Force, and we lost
Yeah.
track of the third guy. We all played 12-string guitars, and I was writing the music for it. And I must have written hundreds of songs, but I got out of the service, and a funny incident that happened is I went to work for a company in downtown Denver, and across the street was the Radisson Hotel, which had a Playboy club at the top.
Yeah.
So my wife was picking me up in her little bug, from work,
Yeah.
and while she's waiting for me, this guy comes over and says, "Hey, that's a great parking job." And she looks over, she looks up, and it's Roosevelt Greer. So,
Wow.
I don't know if you guys remember Rosie Greer from the football player who would do needlepoint, you know.
Wow.
So anyway, he got in the music business, and he was there with his producer Stu Gardner from Stu Gardner and the Sanctified Sound,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
who's also music producer for Bill Cosby and some other TV shows, right?
Wow.
So anyway, my wife goes, "Oh, and my husband writes all this music. You got to hear it."
Yeah.
So they said, "Fine, bring it down, and we'll show it to
Yeah.
Stu." So I grab all, back then everything was on tape, right?
Yeah.
All songs on tape, and I bring my tape decks down, and my tapes and speakers.
Yeah.
So played him on music, and he ended up giving me 3 contracts for the songs, and he
Wow.
wanted me to come to LA to produce the songs for about 6 months. And the problem was I was working, I had a family, I had kids.
Yeah.
If I went, I have no income. I need
Exactly.
family. I said, "Stu, I can't do it." So
Yeah.
they took the songs and played around with it, and not sure what really happened to them. But I also took my music to Columbia Records,
Mm.
and the guy, they had an office in Denver. I brought my tapes there, my demo tapes, and they said, "I really like this." But this was the time that the band Poco, was very big. Right?
Okay.
And he said, "I'm going to send this off to the office in Hollywood, in California. And if they like it, we'll talk." So we sent it out to them, and they sent it back. They said, "It's just not what we're looking for right now," because again,
Hmm.
they don't want bands like Poco and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So time went on. I gave my music to Columbia Records to listen to, and also NBC Studios. And I had a song called "New York Boy," which was really about my journey from New York to Colorado.
Yeah.
And right after that, John Denver came out with a song called "Rocky Mountain High." Now, if
Mm.
you compare the 2 songs, there's a chorus in there which is almost identical to mine. Right?
Mm.
There's no doubt that the music I gave them, some of it was pilfered. Some of it
Yeah.
was.
Well, that's so common.
Yeah.
It's so common.
So over the years, I kind of changed my style, my voice. I couldn't sing anymore, probably because of smoking 5 cigars a
Yeah.
day. So I switched to instrumentals. So the music that I write now is mostly called "Don't Let Me Keep You Up There."
Yeah. No. 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 You're fine. You're fine, Mitch.
It's late there, Um,
Yeah.
so I switched instrumentals, and I have a studio here.
Yeah.
I built.
Wow.
It's people call it cinematic music, and
Mm.
classical. So I have an album
Yeah.
out on all the streaming sites, Pandora,
Really?
by YouTube, you name it, any site you pick. I'm on. So you can look for
Oh.
the title of the album is called Sonoran Dreams, and my moniker, is M. Paul Abel, M. Paul Abel. So you can search by either of those on any of those sites, and you should find the album. And for all of you out there listening, any comments would be welcome, good, bad, or indifferent. The second song on the album, or third song now, called "Midnight Lullaby," actually won a gold medal on a radio station.
Oh, there you go, Mitch.
And the first one, Crystal Canyon, won a silver. So
Oh, so
it's a collection. It's eclectic music.
yeah.
You know, so that's one of the songs.
Wow.
That's one of the ones I wouldn't start with, but
Yeah.
you know, Midnight
Oh,
Lullaby.
so does Rob know about this?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Midnight Lullaby I wrote right after 9/11, so it's kind of
Okay.
it all spilled out within one night. But the
Oh,
thing is, with the equipment I have what's called Complete Control, and I have
yeah.
some keyboards and synths. But Complete Control is where you buy actual sample packages, professionally sampled packages of instruments.
Yeah.
So, like if you listen to the Opus, Abel's Opus
Yeah.
number one on there, you'll hear, there's probably 30 instruments, which means I had 30 tracks that I
Yeah.
write independently of each other and make sure it all
Yeah.
comes together. So it takes a long time now. It's not like, you sit down and sing something and record.
Yeah.
This is a major deal, and you have to mix it all together, and you got to, you know. So uh, that particular song, that is what I would call neoclassical. I've got like Stradivarius violins. I've got, all cello, drum. I have choir in there. So it's it's interesting. It's fun when it's working, and when it's
Mm.
not, I just want to kill myself. You know.
Well, because it's frustrating.
Yeah, if you make a mistake in one track, well, guess what? You got to go fix it in 30, 29 other tracks.
Yeah. True.
Remix it all.
Wow.
So a song that would usually take a week to crank out can take months now to get it all right.
Wow.
So, but
That's
yeah. Anyway,
Mitch. Mitch. You are a man of many talents. It's
yeah,
kind of crazy because like we speak every Saturday. You just never know.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that is super cool.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Well, but it's 10:30 my time. Hey, what's going on, guy? What's this guy? What's this guy's name?
Who are you talking to?
The dog. The dog. I was saying what's
Butter. This is Butter. This is Butter the Wolf.
okay. Hey, but oh man.
She has been my companion, my closest friend since Barb died. She's
Wow. Yeah.
the sweetest dog in the world.
Yeah.
But she'll also, if somebody ever broke in, she'll hold the flashlight and point out the silverware. So
Yeah. Uh-huh.
she's just the
Yeah.
most lucky thing. Actually,
That's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's
All right,
mine.
Mitch. Yeah, we're gonna end this podcast here.
Okay.
So Mitch will be back, but when Mitch comes back, it'll probably be a group of us when Mitch comes back.
Uh,
So, guys, I want to thank you guys for watching. Please comment, subscribe, share. Don't forget, tell a friend to tell a friend. You guys know the vibes already. Big Guilty Cigars. Mitch, thank you.
thank
Everybody,
you for
peace. Of
putting me on.
course, Mitch. Of course.
Get it.
Of
Yeah.
course.
All right. No,
Yeah.
you're good.